They called all the princesses, including Cheta, and told them about the urgent need to choose the next ruler. The firstborn princess, named Adeze, thought it was her right to become queen, so she didn't care much about what the elders had to say. But she was shocked when she heard the condition for becoming the next ruler. Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Umudike, there lived a king named Ezoba. He was a wonderful king. He was wise, kind, and very rich. Everyone in the kingdom loved him very much. King Ezoba had a queen and four princesses, but one of the princesses was different. Her name was Cheta, and her mother was a maid named Akaraka. Akaraka was very beautiful and kind. She was a maid in the palace. Her kindness and beauty caught the eye of King Ezoba, and they fell in love. Soon, Akaraka was going to have a baby, but the queen was very angry when she found out. She treated Akaraka very badly. Akaraka had a tough time during her pregnancy. Sadly, she died when Cheta was born. Even though her mother was dead, Cheta was born healthy and strong. But life in the palace was very hard for her. King Ezuba loved Cheta and tried to take care of her. But the queen and the other princesses were mean to Cheta. They did not like her because her mother was a maid. As King Ezuba got older, he started to worry about the future of his kingdom. He has no son to become king after him. According to the kingdom's tradition, one of his daughters would have to rule after him. But the king did not think his daughters, except for Cheta, could be good leaders. The other princesses only cared about looking pretty, having lots of things, and being respected. Cheta was different, but she was the youngest and the daughter of a maid. King Ezuba decided to ask the elders of the kingdom for advice. The elders had a long meeting and came up with a plan. They called all the princesses, including Cheta, and told them about the urgent need to choose the next ruler. The firstborn princess, named Adeze, thought it was her right to become queen, so she didn't care much about what the elders had to say. But she was shocked when she heard the condition for becoming the next ruler. The king's royal mantle is hidden somewhere in this palace. Whoever finds it will become the next ruler, the elders announced. The first princess, Adeze, was very angry, but she couldn't change anything. Cheta, like her father, was worried about who would find the royal mantle. She prayed that heaven would help the right person find it. In the palace, everyone was talking about the royal mantle and who would find it. Princess Adeze was determined to find it first. She thought to herself, I am the oldest, so I deserve to be the queen. Princess Adeze started searching every corner of the palace. She looked in the grand halls, the kitchens, and even the gardens, but she could not find the royal mantle. She grew more and more frustrated. The other two princesses, Princess Amara and Princess Chioma, also joined the search. Amara spent most of her time looking in the royal library, while Chioma searched the palace towers. They both wanted to be queen and have all the powers and riches that came with it. Meanwhile, Cheta quietly watched her sisters. She saw how they searched frantically, but she also saw that they were only thinking about themselves. Cheta did not care about the riches or the power. She only wanted what was best for the kingdom. One evening, Cheta sat down with her father, King Ezoba. She looked at him with kind eyes and said, Father, I want to help find the royal mantles, but not for myself. I want to help because I care about our people. King Ezoba smiled and patted her hand. Cheta, my dear, I know your heart is pure. Just remember to follow your heart and be true to yourself. Cheta nodded and went to bed that night with a hopeful heart. Princess Cheta woke up the next morning feeling excited and determined. After having breakfast and doing some chores, she decided to go out and visit the villagers. She dressed beautifully, like a true queen. As she walked through the village, she spread happiness with her cheerful smile. "You are the noble princess," the villagers shouted joyfully as she passed by. Cheta loved spending time with the people of her kingdom. She listened to their stories, helped them with their problems, and made them laugh. The villagers adored her, and her kindness made everyone happy. Meanwhile, back in the palace, the other princesses were not happy. They made plans together to stop Cheta. They paid a group of people a lot of money to search the palace and find out where the royal mantle was hidden. They promised to pay even more money if they did a good job. When the other princesses heard about how much the villagers loved Cheta, they became even angrier. They were worried that the people might make Cheta the queen, even without the royal mantle. They decided to talk to their mother, the queen, about it. "She is very cunning," their mother said. "Now you three must find a way to make the people like you more. You must also make Cheta look bad in front of the people." "How can we do that, mother?" the firstborn princess asked. "Give me some time to think," the queen replied. "But you three must promise to work together." "Yes, we will work together to make me the queen," the firstborn said with a smile. "No, I am the most beautiful, so I should be the queen," the secondborn snapped. "That's not happening while I'm here," the thirdborn said, frowning. "Who are you to speak?" The firstborn started to argue. "Enough, princesses," their mother scolded. "Be cooperative and work as a team." "It is my birthright," the firstborn retorted. They were getting into heated argument when a maid interrupted. The maid came to announce that lunch was ready. The princesses stopped arguing and went to the dining hall. When Princess Cheta came home, the maid who had interrupted earlier told her everything she had overheard. The maid urged Cheta to be very careful. "Princess Cheta," the maid said, "you must watch out. Your sisters are planning something against you." Cheta thanked the maid for telling her and promised to be cautious. She knew she had to stay strong and keep being kind, no matter what her sisters did. The next day, Cheta continued her visits to the village. She played with the children, helped the elders, and listened to everyone's concerns. The people's love for her grew stronger each day. Back in the palace, the other princesses were busy with their plan. They had given the group of people they hired a map of the palace and instructions on where to search for the royal mantle. They were determined to find it before Cheta did. But the people they hired were not very honest. They took the money and pretended to search, but they did not work very hard. They spent most of their time eating the palace food and resting in the servants' quarters. The queen was getting impatient. "You must work faster," she scolded the group. "Find that mantle and make my daughters look good." But the group just nodded and continued their lazy search. They were more interested in the money than actually finding the mantle. Meanwhile, the queen also started spreading rumors about Cheta. She told people that Cheta was only pretending to be nice. She tried to make the villagers doubt Cheta's kindness. But Cheta's actions spoke louder than the queen's words. The villagers had seen Cheta's true heart. They knew she was genuine and kind. The rumors did not affect their love for her. One evening, as Cheta was walking back to the palace, an old woman stopped her. "Princess Cheta," the old woman said, "you have a kind heart. Do not let anyone change you. The people of Umudike believe in you." "Thank you," Cheta replied, smiling warmly. "I will always try to do my best for our people." Cheta returned to the palace with a renewed sense of purpose. She knew the road ahead would not be easy, but she was ready to face any challenges with courage and kindness. In the palace, the queen and the other princesses were still plotting. They realized that just finding the royal mantle would not be enough. They needed to win the hearts of the people, and they needed to tarnish Cheta's good image. The queen called a secret meeting with her daughters. We need a better plan, she said. We need to make the people see Cheta as a problem, not a solution. But how can we do that? The second born asked. We need to find something that will make her look bad. The queen replied, something that will make the people doubt her. The princesses thought hard. They came up with different ideas, but nothing seemed right. They argued and fought, each wanting to be the queen. Enough! The queen finally shouted, you must work together. We need a united front. The firstborn sighed. Fine, we will work together, but I still believe it should be me. We will figure it out, the queen said. For now, we need to focus on Cheta. We need to make her stumble. While the queen and her daughters were making their plans, Cheta continued to be a beacon of hope and kindness in the kingdom. She knew her path was difficult, but she believed in the power of goodness. That night, as she lay in her bed, Cheta prayed to the gods for strength and wisdom. She knew that with the support of the villagers and her own determination, she could overcome any obstacle. In the early hours of the day, the princesses woke up, filled with excitement. The search for the royal mantle had begun. The thought of becoming a queen, a ruler, was wonderful. The three older princesses were busy making plans on how to achieve their goals. Each of them wanted to earn the title Queen of Umudike Kingdom. Princess Cheta, however, was different. She spent her time learning about the kingdom's past heroes, sacred traditions, and proper etiquette. She did not see herself as worthy of being queen. Cheta was humble and noble. She had no selfish desires. One morning, while walking idly within the palace, Cheta overheard some maids and male servants talking. The atmosphere around our princesses is nothing but negativity, one of them said. How awful it would be to be ruled by them. Another one added, our noble kingdom will only be ruined if that happens. The only exception is our noble princess Cheta. Another one said firmly. I wonder why she refused to join the search. Everyone in this kingdom knows that only she deserves the throne. One said, it is selfish of her not to join. Yes, she should consider the fate of the people of the kingdom that lies on her shoulders. Another one agreed. Why did the elders even take such a decision? Another one sighed. Princess Cheta could not listen anymore. She rushed back to her room with mixed feelings. Was she really being selfish? She thought about it for a long time. She sought advice from some older people in the palace and talked with her father, the king. After much thought, Princess Cheta decided to join the search. When the other three princesses heard about this, they did not hesitate to make fun of her. How awful is the thought of having a maid's daughter as a queen? One of the princesses laughed mockingly. I am noble, my princess. What is mine is mine, Cheta replied confidently. At that moment, Cheta became even more determined to stand up for her people. The other three princesses, however, vowed to ruin her vision. The next morning, the search for the royal mantle was in full swing. Princess Adeze, the eldest, was searching every corner of the palace. She was convinced that she deserved to be queen because she was the oldest. I must find that mantle. It is my birthright. Adeze thought to herself as she turned over every stone and looked behind every curtain. Princess Amara, the second born, was also busy searching. She believed that her beauty made her the best choice for queen. I am the most beautiful. I will be the queen and everyone will adore me, Amara said, admiring herself in a mirror before continuing her search. Princess Chioma, the third born, was determined to prove herself as well. I will not let my sisters take this chance away from me. I will be the best queen Umudike has ever seen, Chioma whispered as she looked through the palace library. While her sisters searched frantically, Princess Cheta had a different approach. She believed that if she was meant to be queen, she would find the mantle in the right way. She walked around the palace with a calm heart, thinking about the history and traditions of her kingdom. One afternoon, Cheta found herself in the palace garden, a place she loved dearly. She sat under a large tree and thought about her journey so far. She remembered the words of the villagers and the advice of her father. I must do this for my people, Cheta thought. I must find the royal mantle and prove that I am worthy. Princess Cheta woke up the next day to the gentle calls of her personal maid, a middle-aged woman. This maid had been her mother's close friend. Since Cheta's mother passed away, this special maid had become a like mother to her. She gave Cheta advice and moral support. Rise, my princess. It is a new day, the maid repeated softly. Another day, Princess Cheta asked, still feeling sleepy as she reluctantly got out of bed. The royal mantle is still missing. Right, I know, Cheta cut in. It's been weeks now, and yet no results. I doubt if the royal mantle is hidden in this palace. Even the queen and her princesses, in all their capability, have yet to find it. Leadership is earned, not bought or commanded. So prepare for another day with your people, the maid pointed out wisely. Cheta nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, the queen called her daughters into her chamber to continue with their selfish plans. I have a perfect plan. I have a perfect idea to take Cheta out of the picture, the queen said with a sly smile. How, mother? The oldest princess asked with a great curiosity. The queen explained how she paid a maid to plant sacred items of forbidden spirits of the waters in Cheta's chamber. The spirit of the waters was known in the kingdom as a deceitful entity. She would charm people, make them trust her, but slowly destroys them. She became forbidden when the people could no longer bear her evil, and anyone found association with her was immediately excommunicated. The princesses felt proud of their mother and were already dreaming of sitting on the throne as queen. In addition to that, the queen continued, I paid some strong men to go into the kingdom and supply the people with their essential needs to buy them over. The queen smiled mischievously. Soon, very soon, I shall be crowned queen, the oldest princess said confidently. The other two gave her a stern look and let out a loud hiss. As the day began, Princess Cheta prepared to visit the villagers again. She dressed simply but elegantly and set out to spread joy among her people. She listened to their stories, helped with their problems, and shared in their happiness and sorrows. Good morning, Princess Cheta. A villager greeted her warmly. You always bring light to our lives. Thank you, Cheta replied with a smile. It is my honor to serve you all. While Cheta was out, the queen's plan was set into motion. The maid the queen had bribed sneaked into Cheta's chamber and planted the sacred items of the forbidden spirits of the waters. The items were hidden in places where they would surely be found. Later that day, a commotion erupted in the palace. The queen's spies had discovered the forbidden items in Cheta's chamber. The news spread quickly, and soon everyone was talking about it. The queen and her daughters put on a show of shock and concern. How could this happen? The queen exclaimed. Our dear Cheta had been deceived by the spirits of the waters. The elders were called to investigate. They entered Cheta's chamber and found the forbidden items. The elders were horrified. This is a serious matter, one elder said gravely. We must discuss what to do. Princess Cheta was summoned to the council chamber. She was confused and worried as she faced the elders. Princess Cheta, one of the elders began, we have found sacred items of the forbidden spirits of the waters in your chamber. How do you explain this? Cheta was stunned. I do not know how they got there, she said honestly. I have never associated the spirits of the waters. The queen feigned sorrow. Oh, Cheta, how could you? You were our hope, she said, pretending to be heartbroken. Cheta's maid, who knew the truth, spoke up. I believe Princess Cheta. She would never do such a thing. Someone must have planted those items. The elders looked at each other. They were unsure of what to do. The queen and her daughters, however, were confident that their plans was working. She must be excommunicated, the oldest princess declared. She has brought shame to our kingdom. No, Cheta's maid protested. This is not fair. You must investigate further. The villagers, upon hearing the news, were divided. Some believed in Cheta's innocence, while others were swayed by the queen's manipulations. Cheta would never do such a thing, an old woman said. She has always been kind and true. But the evidence is there. Another villager said, we must follow our laws. Cheta was heartbroken. She could not believe that someone would do this to her. She was put in the palace prison for further investigation, tears streaming down her face. I must find out who did this, Cheta resolved. I will not let them win. Meanwhile, the queen continued her plan. She sent the strong men she hired into the kingdom to supply the villagers with goods and spread rumors about Cheta. See how we care for you, the men said as they handed out food and supplies. The queen and her daughters are your true leaders. The villagers, grateful for the supplies, began to waver. The queen's plan was working. Cheta knew she had to act quickly to clear her name. She called upon the elders and requested a meeting. Please give me a chance to prove my innocence, she pleaded. I believe someone has set me up. The elders, seeing the sincerity in Cheta's eyes, agreed to give her one more chance. They decided to launch a full investigation. We will find the truth. One elder said, we owe it to our people. The queen and her daughters were furious. Their plans was unraveling. They had to think of something fast. We must not let her succeed. The queen said to her daughters, we will find a way to stop her. But Princess Cheta, with the help of her loyal maid and the support of those who believed in her, was determined to uncover the truth and save her kingdom. Princess Cheta remained in detention while the search for the royal mantle continued. No one came to see her except her maid, who secretly brought her royal meals and updates about the kingdom's activities. One day, Cheta told her maid about the box and the strange man she had met earlier. Her maid took the box and opened it before the princess. Both the princess and the maid were surprised to find an old map inside. Following Cheta's instruction, the maid took the map to the royal study to find out what it was about. Meanwhile, the kingdom was divided. Most people still had faith in Princess Cheta, while a few believed the false accusations. Even among the elders, there were those who had faith in Cheta, those who doubted her, and those who had been bought off by the queen with money. The people who believed in Cheta wore sackcloth as if they were mourning. They refused to farm and came to the palace each day crying for her release. King Ezoba became greatly worried, so he sought advice from his elders. But because there were divisions among the elders themselves, the meetings only ended in arguments. On the 5th day of Princess Cheta's detention, her maid brought her a report concerning the map. My princess, this map shows the route to a river that flows through the palace, the maid said. A river flows through the palace? Cheta asked, surprised. Yes, but it is hidden. The maid continued. It was recorded that this river has taken the life of many who were impure at heart. Considering that none is perfect, our forefathers decided to make enchantments that hid the river. So where do I come in? Why was I given the map? Cheta asked further. According to the description in the map, the royal mantle we seek lies at the other end of the river. You are pure in heart, my princess. You should go for it. But first, we need to get you out of here, the maid replied. The maid and Princess Cheta devised a plan to escape the palace undetected. Princess Cheta's maid hurried out of the detention ward, her mind racing. She knew she had to come up with a plan quickly. Since it was the 5th day of Princess Cheta's detention, Cheta had only 2 days left before she would be exiled from the kingdom. Never will injustice rule, the maid murmured to herself as she hurried past the royal chambers and into the maid's quarters. She stopped in front of a young maid who was responsible for serving the guards. "Young maiden," Cheta's maid called out. The young maid answered the call, respecting the age difference between them. Together, they went to a private place where they could talk. "Do you believe in Princess Cheta?" Cheta's maid asked, her voice calm but her eyes compelling. The young maid nodded. "I know you are good with the guards," Cheta's maid continued. "The fate of the princess falls on your shoulders today, and cursed be the one who refuses to make herself available for the good works approved by the gods." "What do you want from me?" the young maid asked nervously. "Find the keys to the prison where our noble princess is held and bring them to me." The young maid nodded again and hurried away. Cheta's maid felt tense as time passed. After hours of waiting, the young maid returned with a bunch of keys. Cheta's maid was pleased. Just then, a group of armed guards approached them. They roughly dragged the young maid forward and slapped her hard. "Bring back what you took," one of the guards roared. "I didn't take anything," the young maid insisted. They pushed her to the ground and slapped her again, but she refused to confess. As a small crowd of maids and servants began to gather, Cheta's maid sneaked away with the keys and headed to Princess Cheta's cell. It took a while to find the exact key to unlock the prison door. When the door finally swung open, Cheta looked up in surprise. "You did it," she exclaimed. "Quick, we don't have much time," the maid said. Princess Cheta's maid bowed respectfully as Cheta stepped out of the prison. For a moment, Cheta hesitated, unsure of herself. "Go, find the mantle, my princess. Do it for us. Do it for you." Those words were exactly what Cheta needed. Without a word, she left through the back door of the detention ward. Cheta's maid said a little prayer, then padlocked the prison door to delay any suspicions and left. Just as she reached the entrance of the detention ward, she bumped into some angry guards. She froze with fear. Fortunately, they took no notice of her, but unfortunately, they had the younger maid in custody, the same maid who had helped steal the keys to Cheta's prison and had refused to speak up when apprehended. Trembling, Cheta's maid retired to her chamber. The next morning, the palace woke up to the sounds of whistles and shouts by the royal guards. The third cockcrow had just been heard, and the sky was still dark when every maid and servant were forced out of their chambers. The king and his queen were already outside. Some messengers were sent to summon the royal elders to the palace. "She was with me." Moments later, keys missing, and later on, Princess Cheta missing. Cheta's maid barely heard as one guard made a report to the king. "Where is she?" the queen asked angrily. Two guards dragged the young maid out and forced her to kneel before the king. Cheta's maid was hot as she watched the young maid being tortured, but the young maid refused to say anything. "Are you a follower of Princess Cheta?" the queen asked again. The young maid looked away, her eyes meeting those of Cheta's maid. The pain in her eyes was visible, but she nodded to confess her loyalty to the noble princess. By then, the elders had begun to gather, and the day was getting brighter. "Abomination!" one of the elders exclaimed. The rest looked up to the king, who had been silent all this time, for his judgment. The king raised his hand to silence the murmuring crowd. "We will get to the bottom of this," he said firmly. "But first, we need to find Princess Cheta and the royal mantle." The queen, still fuming, turned to the guards. "Search the entire kingdom. Do not rest until you find her." Meanwhile, Cheta's maid slipped away from the chaotic scene. She needed to find a way to contact Cheta and inform her of the escalating situation. She made her way to a hidden spot in the palace gardens, a place she and Cheta often used for secret meetings. As the day grew brighter, Cheta continued her journey. She followed the map's direction through the dark forest, feeling the cool, soothing water of the hidden river guiding her path. The river's glow illuminated her way, giving her hope and determination. Hours passed, and Cheta felt tired. She stopped to rest for a moment, leaning against a large rock on the riverbank. As she did, she heard a soft melodic voice. "Welcome, pure-hearted one," the voice said. Cheta looked around but saw no one. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice echoing in the quiet night. "I am the spirit of this river," the voice replied. "You have been chosen to find the royal mantle and save your kingdom." Cheta was both amazed and grateful. "Thank you for guiding me," she said. "Continue on your path and you will find what you seek," the spirit's voice reassured her. Encouraged by the spirit's words, Cheta resumed her journey. The river's current grew stronger, and she had to wade carefully to avoid being swept away. She followed the twists and turns, always keeping the map close. After what felt like an eternity, Cheta saw a faint light ahead. She quickened her pace and soon emerged from the forest into a small clearing. In the center of the clearing stood a large ancient tree. At the base of the tree, nestled among its roots, was a small ornate chest. Cheta approached the chest cautiously. She knelt down and opened it, her heart pounding with anticipation. Inside, wrapped in a silken cloth, lay the royal mantle. It shimmered with a golden light, and Cheta knew at once that this was the symbol of true leadership. She carefully took the mantle and wrapped it around her shoulders. As she did, she felt a surge of strength and purpose. She knew she had to return to the palace and prove her worth as the rightful heir to the throne. With the royal mantle in her possession, Cheta began her journey back to the palace. The return trip was faster as she was filled with a newfound determination. She followed the river's path back to the hidden exit, where her loyal maid was waiting. "You did it, my princess," the maid said, her eyes shining with pride. "Yes, and now we must return to the palace and show everyone the truth," Cheta replied. The maid nodded, and together they made their way back through the hidden passages and into the palace. It was early morning, and the palace was just beginning to wake. Back at the palace, the atmosphere was tense. The royal family and the elders were gathered in the courtyard discussing the latest developments. "We need to find Princess Cheta," one elder said. "She is the only one who can bring peace to our kingdom." "But she is missing," another elder replied. "How can we trust her after everything that had happened?" The queen and her daughter stood silently, knowing that their plan had worked so far. King Ezuba maintained silence for a longer while than the people expected. The elders had the intention of urging him to speak, but the uncertainty of his thoughts kept them all restrained. After some moments, they began to whisper, some developing into murmurs. "Silence!" the king thundered. Immediately, everyone became silent, knowing what it meant for the king to be angry. "No one shall do more harm to the young maid. Set her free," the king declared. Cheta's maid gasped. Everyone was surprised. The queen could not take it. "What? My king, please reconsider," the queen was saying. "Guards, go out in search of Princess Cheta and bring her to me in good health," the king said and turned to go. "Father, that won't be necessary," came a voice from behind the people gathered. The king recognized the voice. The people parted to the right, some to the left, until the owner of the voice was standing face to face with the king. "Chetachi," the king exclaimed. There were mixed feelings among the elders, and the king's exclamation wasn't of anger but of joy. "She defied our law and judgment," the queen cried out. "This day, the gods have proved me pure and noble," Princess Cheta replied sharply as she lifted up the royal mantle for all to behold. The majority of the people began to rejoice. "No evil water spirit, evil," the queen stammered. On the contrary, I believe you have some confessions to make to us all. Princess Cheta retorted with a mean look on her face. Guards, seize her, the king ordered. Eh, seize who? The queen trembled as she was led away into detention. A little torture and the queen confessed her conspiracy with some guards and made to implant those forbidden objects in Cheta's chamber and also to bear false witness against her. The older three princesses denied being part of the queen's plans. As the truth unraveled, the people began to see clearly. The elders convened a meeting to discuss the recent events. King Ezuba addressed them with a heavy heart. My people, today we have seen the power of truth and justice. We must ensure that such deceit and treachery never occur again in our kingdom, he declared. The elders nodded in agreement. They knew it was time for change and that Princess Cheta was the one to lead them. The next day, preparations began for Princess Cheta's coronation. The palace buzzed with activity as everyone worked to make the event grand and memorable. Cheta, with her loyal maid by her side, felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Do not worry, my princess, the maid reassured her. You have proven yourself worthy. The people believed in you. Cheta smiled, feeling cheerful and grateful for the support. Thank you. I could not have done this without you. On the day of the coronation, the kingdom gathered in the grand courtyard of the palace. The air was filled with anticipation and joy. King Ezuba stood proudly as he addressed the crowd. Today, we celebrate the ascension of a queen who has shown us the true meaning of nobility, courage, and kindness. Princess Cheta stepped forward. Cheta walked gracefully to the center of the courtyard. The royal mantle glowed brightly on her shoulders, symbolizing her rightful place as queen. King Ezuba placed the crown on her head, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Long live Queen Cheta, they shouted. Cheta raised her hand to silence the crowd. Thank you, my people. I am honored to be your queen. I promise to lead with wisdom, justice, and a pure heart. Together we will make our kingdom flourish. The people cheered louder, their hearts filled with hope and pride. With Queen Cheta on the throne, the kingdom of Umudike entered a new era of peace and prosperity. The young maid who had helped her was honored for her bravery and loyalty. The queen's mother and her co-conspirators faced justice for their actions. Cheta ruled with compassion and strength, always putting the well-being of her people first. Her story became a legend, a testament to the power of truth and the importance of a pure heart in leadership. And so, the kingdom thrived, and the memory of Queen Cheta's journey to the throne was cherished by all. The queen had been in prison for 3 days, and Queen Cheta knew it was time to remind her father of the next steps. She approached King Ezuba and requested that the elders be summoned. The elders gathered, still astonished and confused about what to make of the situation. Onowu, the eldest elder, spoke on behalf of the group. Your Majesty, it is left for you to make the decision. The elders turned to the king, awaiting his judgment. King Ezoba, still possessing the shocking revelations, looked at his daughter, Queen Cheta, with a mix of pride and sorrow. You have proven your worth, my daughter, the king said softly. But what shall be done with the queen? The people murmured again, some calling for mercy, others for punishment. Queen Cheta stepped forward and addressed the crowd. My people, I understand your anger and confusion. My stepmother has wronged us all, but I believe in justice tempered with mercy. Let her face the consequences of her actions, but let us also remember that forgiveness is a strength, not a weakness. The crowd fell silent, contemplating her words. The elders nodded in agreement, and the king made his decision. The queen shall be stripped of her title and exiled from the kingdom. Her daughters shall remain under strict supervision until it is clear they were not involved in her schemes, the king declared. The next day, the former queen was brought before the people. She looked defeated and ashamed as the guards led her to the palace gates. King Ezuba addressed the crowd. Today, we see the consequences of deceit and treachery, but we also see the power of truth and justice. The former queen will be exiled, and her daughters will be closely watched. Let this be a lesson to us all. The guards escorted the former queen out of the palace, and she was sent out from the kingdom. The people watched in silence, their hearts heavy with a mix of emotions. In the days that followed, Queen Cheta worked hard to restore peace and unity in the kingdom. She spent time with the people, listening to their concerns and addressing their needs. She also made sure that the former queen's daughter were treated fairly, giving them a chance to prove their innocence. One day, as Queen Cheta walked through the palace gardens, she came across the young maid who had helped her escape from the prison. "Thank you for your bravery," Queen Cheta said, smiling warmly. "You risked everything to help me, and I will never forget it." The young maid bowed her head, blushing. "It was an honor, Your Majesty. I believe in you and what you stand for." Queen Cheta placed a gentle hand on the maid's shoulder. "You have shown great courage and loyalty. From this day forward, you shall be my personal attendant and advisor." The young maid's eyes widened with surprise and gratitude. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will serve you faithfully." As the months passed, Queen Cheta's reign brought prosperity and happiness to the kingdom. She ruled with wisdom, kindness, and a sense of justice that earned her the love and respect of her people. The former queen's daughter, under close supervision, eventually proved their innocence and were allowed to live freely in the kingdom. They admired Queen Cheta's leadership and sought to learn from her example. One evening, as Queen Cheta stood on the palace balcony, looking out over the kingdom, her father joined her. "You have done well, my daughter," King Ezuba said, pride evident in his voice. "Thank you, father," Queen Cheta replied, smiling. "I have learned that true leadership is about serving others and staying true to one's values." The king nodded. "You have taught us all a valuable lesson. I am proud to call you my daughter and my queen." With peace and prosperity returning to the kingdom, Queen Cheta focused on acknowledging those who had helped her along the way. Among them, her loyal maid stood out as a beacon of unwavering support and courage. The queen knew it was time to honor her maid for her invaluable contribution. Early one morning, Queen Cheta summoned her maid to the royal chambers. The maid arrived, her heart pounding with nervous anticipation. "My queen, you called for me?" the maid asked, bowing respectfully. "Yes," Cheta replied with a warm smile. "You have been my pillar of strength, my guide through the darkest times. It's time the kingdom recognizes your bravery and loyalty." The maid's eyes widened with surprise and gratitude. "I was only doing my duty, my queen." Queen Cheta took her hand gently. "Your actions went beyond duty. You risked your life for me and for the kingdom. Such loyalty deserves to be celebrated." A few days later, a grand ceremony was organized in the palace courtyard. The people of Umudike gathered, their faces filled with curiosity and excitement. The air was filled with the sound of drums and flutes, and colorful banners fluttered in the breeze. The royal elders, advisors, and nobles were present, dressed in their finest attire. King Ezuba stood beside Queen Cheta, both of them beaming with pride. Queen Cheta stepped forward and addressed the crowd. "People of Umudike, today we honor a true hero. In our darkest hours, this brave soul stood by my side, risking everything for the good of our kingdom." She gestured for her maid to join her on the platform. The maid, dressed in a simple yet elegant gown, approached with humble steps, her eyes shining with emotion. "This is the woman who showed us true meaning of loyalty and courage," Cheta continued. "She helped uncover the truth, brought me the map that led to the royal mantle, and stood firm in the face of danger." The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing through the courtyard. Queen Cheta held up a beautifully crafted offer engraved with the symbol of the kingdom. With this offer, I bestow upon you the title of guardian and special advice of the palace. Cheta declared, you shall have a place of honor in the palace and the respect of all our people. Tears streamed down the maid's face. Thank you, my queen, she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. As the ceremony continued, the people celebrated with music, dance, and feasting. The maid was showered with gifts and praises, her humble nature making her even more beloved by the people. Throughout the festivities, Queen Cheta stayed close to her maid, ensuring she felt the full extent of the kingdom's gratitude. You deserve all this and more, Cheta said quietly. You are more than a maid to me. You are family. The maid smiled, but her heart full. Serving you has been my greatest honor, my queen, and this is the promise I made to your mom, that I will always stand by you, the maid said. As the sun set over the jubilant kingdom, Queen Cheta and her maid stood together watching the celebrations. Together we have made our kingdom stronger, Cheta said softly, and together we will continue to lead it towards a brighter future. The maid nodded, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. Yes, my queen, together we are unstoppable. Queen Cheta had brought peace and prosperity to Umudike, but there was still one thing that weighed heavily on her heart: her relationship with her three sisters. Despite their past animosity, Cheta believed in the power of forgiveness and family. She decided it was time to reach out to them. One sunny morning, Queen Cheta invited the three princesses to the royal garden for a private meeting. The garden, a place of beauty and tranquility, was filled with blooming flowers and the gentle hum of bees. As the three princesses arrived, they were weary and uncertain. Princess Amara, the eldest, spoke first. Why have you called us here, Queen Cheta? Cheta smiled warmly. I called you here to talk as sisters. We have been through much together, and it is time to heal the wounds of the past. Princess Amara looked skeptical. After everything that has happened, you still want to call us your sisters? Yes, Cheta replied earnestly. We were all victims of my stepmother's schemes. It is time to move forward and find a way to support each other. The youngest princess, Ada, who had always been quieter, spoke up. But how do we begin to trust each other again? Cheta took a deep breath. By being honest and open. I know I have my faults and I am willing to work on them. I ask the same of you. Let us start by sharing our thoughts and feelings. The conversation began immediately with each other sharing her perspective and experiences. As they talked, they realized they had more in common than they thought. The walls between them started to crumble, replaced by a growing sense of understanding and empathy. Over the next few weeks, the four sisters spent more time together, building trust and rekindling their bond. They shared meals, worked on royal duties together, and even took long walks in the palace gardens. Slowly but surely, the rift between them healed. One evening, as they sat together in the royal hall, Princess Amara turned to Cheta. You have truly shown us the meaning of forgiveness and family, Queen Cheta. We are grateful. Cheta smiled. We are stronger together as a family, and I am glad we have found our way back to each other. With their sisterly bond renewed, Queen Cheta and her three sisters worked hand in hand to govern Umudike with wisdom and compassion. They implemented policies to improve the lives of their people and ensure justice and equality throughout the kingdom. As time passed, Queen Cheta's advisors gently reminded her of the importance of marriage for the stability of the kingdom. She had not given much thought to her personal life amidst her responsibilities, but now she was open to the idea of finding a partner who could support her in her duties. Queen Cheta had always prayed to marry someone from her own kingdom, someone who understood the traditions and values of Umudike deeply. Ikenna, known for his kindness and wisdom, was the perfect match. They met and connected. Their wedding was a grand affair, celebrated with joy and blessings from all corners of Umudike. As husband and wife, Queen Cheta and Prince Ikenna ruled Umudike with compassion, wisdom, and a deep commitment to their people. They worked tirelessly to improve the kingdom's infrastructures, education system, and healthcare services. Together, they implemented policies and promoted equality and prosperity for all citizens. Under their leadership, Umudike flourished. The kingdom experienced a period of peace and prosperity where everyone felt valued and heard. Queen Cheta and Prince Ikenna were beloved by their people, who admired their dedication to serving with integrity and humility. Over the years, Queen Cheta and Prince Ikenna welcomed children into their family, raising them with the same values of kindness, justice, and love for Umudike. The royal family became a symbol of hope and unity, inspiring future generations to uphold the principles that made their kingdom strong. As they grew older, Queen Cheta and Prince Ikenna continued to lead Umudike with grace and wisdom. They remained deeply committed to each other and to their kingdom, facing challenges together and celebrating milestones with their people. And so, Queen Cheta and Prince Ikenna's legacy lived on, a legacy of love, leadership, and the power of unity to create a brighter future for Umudike and its people. The most important lesson in this story is the power of forgiveness, unity, and leadership. Queen Cheta's journey teaches us that forgiveness can heal even the deepest wounds, and that true leadership is about serving others with compassion and integrity. Through her determination to reconcile with her sisters, her commitment to ruling justly alongside her husband Prince Ikenna, and her dedication to the well-being of Umudike, Queen Cheta shows us that by embracing these values, we can create a harmonious and prosperous community where everyone feels valued and empowered. Her story reminds us of the importance of humility, empathy, and working together towards a common goal for the greater good. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures, where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonders, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.